Thanks to the age in which the sequel trilogy was made, it easily has the best visual effects of the entire Skywalker saga. So it would make sense for fans to anticipate that the lightsaber battles would improve as well. But while the duels in these movies were not necessarily bad, and were certainly more entertaining than any of the fights in the original trilogy, I don't think it's any secret that the lightsaber battles of the prequel era were far more impressive. And it'd be easy to chalk this difference up to the Jedi of the prequel era being far more well-trained than Rey was, or even to just point to a difference in fighting style. But if those factors really were the only cause, then I have one important question. Why, after Ben Solo returned to the light and joined Rey on Exegol, did their fighting styles suddenly change? In this scene, both characters, but Ben Solo in particular, move in a way which we had not yet seen from them. They are much faster and more fluid in their movements, as they take out the guards and the Knights of Ren with ease. Maybe we could point to the fact that their dyad had now been fully unleashed, with both of them fighting for the same cause instead of either side constantly working against the other. Maybe that somehow took their individual skills to a whole new level. But what if there was a deeper explanation? In The Force Awakens, when Kylo hears about a girl who helped BB-8 escape from Jakku, he becomes angry and somewhat intimidated, I would argue, simply by the mention of this girl. And then, in the novelization of The Force Awakens, when Anakin's lightsaber flies past Kylo's face and into Rey's hands, he pauses and says, "It is you." Once again implying that he somehow knows her, or at least knows she is important for him in one way or another. And that is confirmed when he chooses to spare her life when Rey finds herself between Kylo and a new canyon that had just formed behind her on Starkiller Base. This clearly tells us that his goal is not to kill Rey, and this becomes a common theme over the course of the next two movies, as Kylo continuously seeks Rey out, but refuses to kill her time and time again. And it becomes clear in The Last Jedi that Rey holds a similar compassion for Kylo. So what if the reason their duels between each other are so much slower than what we see at the very end of Episode 9 is because they are both holding back? Even once Rey has spent a year of training with Leia, and her skills are clearly among some of the greatest we have ever seen, their lightsaber battles still seem like they are lacking the proper aggression, as if they are fighting out of something other than intent to kill. And as a quick side note, it is said in the Rise of Skywalker novelization that Rey and Ben had actually felt each other's presence from afar for years. So when Kylo says "it is you" in The Force Awakens, it's because he realizes that she is the person he has sensed for so long. In The Last Jedi, when Kylo is faced with the challenge of either killing this girl whom he hardly knows, or turning on his master whose force power is far beyond his own, he risks everything in order to save her. And in this scene, we also see Rey and Kylo begin to show a different side of themselves. Although their moves aren't quite as fluid as what we saw in Episode 9, I think it's pretty obvious here that they are fighting with a new flair that is never present when they are fighting each other. Then, after The Last Jedi ends and the two are given a year or so to train and deepen their connection with the Force, the story picks back up with The Rise of Skywalker. But finally, in this movie, when Rey loses control of her emotions, and Ben drops his lightsaber after hearing his mother's voice calling out to him, Rey stabs him through the stomach. But even in this moment, Rey shows how much she cares for Ben, as she places her hand near his wound and heals him with the Force. The novelization of the movie actually says that Rey would have been willing to give him her whole life in that moment, dying to save him if she had to. And in the scene on Exegol where Ben comes back to face the Emperor with Rey, as I've been referencing, they both show a completely new side of themselves, which reminded me of things I had only seen from characters like Anakin and Yoda before. So it seems pretty clear to me that something was preventing them from using that power before. And getting back to the idea of these two just being less skilled overall than the Jedi who came before, I want to point out that their Force abilities outside of lightsaber combat are very impressive. So let's not confuse their knowledge or their raw strength in the Force with their lightsaber skills. I realize that both of those things are kind of intertwined in a way, but the stunts Rey and Kylo Ren display in this trilogy without their sabers are very advanced. Some of the best we've seen, actually. So again, remember that it's strictly their lightsaber skills that I'm evaluating here. I'd also like to acknowledge that this set of new films did include some very impressive lightsaber moves, but the overall speed and agility displayed by Rey and Kylo in these fights is simply not on the level of the prequel-era Jedi, until the very end of the trilogy when they are both freed from the hesitation that had been holding them back all along. But that's going to wrap things up for this video. So if you guys enjoyed my take on this video, please let me know in the comments section below. Don't forget to drop this video a like to support the channel, subscribe if you'd like to see future Star Wars content, and may the Force be with you, always.